Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description and every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. One mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 1, Episode 6 of FX and Hulu's Kindred, entitled Celeste. Yet again, the title is appropriately named after the focal point of the episode, that being Celeste. She is Luke's pregnant boo who goes into labor in this episode, and due to unforeseen circumstances called Dana, she dies, as does her baby. And, you know, listen, I don't throw around this word a lot, particularly when it pertains to discussing television or discussing film, because I'm just not really reckless with my language. I want, certain words to resonate more when I say them. So if I say them all the time, they're not going to have an impact. If I rarely say them, then they are going to have an impact. So I rarely say this word to describe a television show or an episode or a movie, but I hated this episode. Hated. It seemed like every scene contained a moment that pissed me off or insulted my intelligence. I said in the last video that Dana's behavior in 1815 and how she moves through the plantation like it's 2016 bothers me. Well, in this episode, we see her cavalier approach to 1815 make her a danger to others, and to slaves, really, who are already in perpetual danger. Can you imagine being a slave and you got some motherfucker come back from the future who should know everything necessary to help you, and she just come and fuck things up more? That's what they gotta worry about. They gotta worry about Dana's dumbass coming in from the future, acting like she's never read a book or seen a movie or anything like that. So, rather than the usual structure I have for these videos, with the questions, what did we learn, and questions and thoughts, I'm mostly going to talk about the ways Dana pissed me off in this episode. And it's gonna feed into kind of talking about the episode, but, this really isn't me taking away any episode discussion, because very little, if anything, happens in this episode to advance the plot or to inform us in any sort of way about where this season is going, inform us in any meaningful way about some of the slaves. It's really just like, here's some shit happening in 1815, and it's like, okay, we're on episode 6 out of 8 in the first season of a show. You need to be hooking me right now, and I'm not even gonna start, because I got way too much shit to go off on. So, before I get into the portion of this video that I like the title, Why Dana Got Me Fucked Up, I want to talk about other couple of things briefly first that happened in this episode that I think are worthy of discussion. So, a guy named Dayton, and I know you guys are like Dayton, Ohio. The captions spell it I wrote it down, Deighton. So this guy Dayton comes and he visits with his daughter. Apparently he used to date or had a crush. I don't know what his situation was with Tom's ex-wife Hannah that died. Tom makes a statement like, in his mind, he probably feels like this is his home. And they bring their daughter, Dayton brings his daughter. I can't remember if there was a wife with him or not. But they bring, I'm going to assume they bring their daughter with them, and Margaret has kind of like this intention, not necessarily hook them up, but I think to kind of just like, get Rufus kind of interacting with girls and kind of setting up potential things for the future. It doesn't end up working out well, and they end up leaving, but I can't help but wonder if like that only served the purpose of like showcasing a failed attempt at setting Rufus up with a mate before ultimately what I think is going to happen, he ends up in some way, shape, or form with Dana. Like I said, I feel like Dana's gonna come back probably in the final episode, and Rufus is gonna be like a early 20s and be hot, and it would be right in Dana's wheelhouse to do something that fucking stupid. Although at that point she kind of has to, if she ultimately knows that she is the descendant of herself and Rufus, she kind of has to. And you create that what's it called? Oh gosh, why am I drawing a blank on the word? Because I'm too busy ready to cuss out Dana. Paradox. There we go. But the most interesting thing is in this episode, which had very little interesting things in it, happens at the very end. So let's see. After flirting with Kevin for essentially the entire episode, Margaret arrives at his room, presumably to give him some, and she's not only sees Dana where she should not be, because Dana's supposed to be in the attic, but now she can look at Dana as like essentially like, you still my man. Like maybe like that's probably why I can't get anywhere with Kevin, because your little ass up in here tempting him. It's the same thing that she thinks about Carrie with Rufus. So she's probably just thinking like, all these black women up in here stealing all the white men. So I expect Margaret to be just brutal in the next episode, if not both of the final two episodes, because yeah, she's gonna be a woman scorned, I can tell you that. So getting into why Dana got me fucked up, there's a whole lot to discuss here, because Dana, I'm not even gonna, like, I can't, there's no point even prefacing it. I'm just gonna get into it because man, this episode pissed me off. Everything in this portion of the video is really just more supporting evidence that Dana, as written, has no earthly clue what slavery is like. I've said up to this point that she's been underreacting. Now I'm just amending that to ask if she's ever read a fucking book or seen a movie about slavery or anything, or is she the only person stupid enough to go 200 years in the past and have no fucking idea what's going on? So I want to start, before I actually, this is going to segue me into Dana, but I want to start with Luke, because Luke has a really bad episode. He proves himself to be a good man in this episode, and I respect that about the Luke character. But when I say he has a bad episode, I mean the events of the episode as they surround the character of Luke. Luke does not have a good episode. The actor is great, but Luke does not. So as a reminder, in case you forgot, Dana's come from the future and decided on her own, because Carrie is a family name, that Carrie and Rufus are meant to be together. So she facilitates this, or at least allows for it to continue to be a possibility, by putting Winnie at risk, telling her to run away. Another reminder, she was told by Olivia to help people. And again, reminder, she has now put Winnie in harm's way after being told to help people because she decided that Carrie and Rufus are meant to be together. If Carrie and Rufus are meant to be together, I'm going to have to eat some measure of crow in this, because I'm still, like I said, I'm doubling down that it's Dana and Rufus that are supposed to be together, but I'll take the L in the criticism if Carrie and Rufus do end up together, because ultimately Dana's still a dumb fuck, so it don't matter to me if Carrie and Rufus, like, nothing that I'm gonna say about what Dana did in this episode changes if it actually is Carrie and Rufus that are supposed to be together. But if you remember in the previous episode, Luke saw Dana and Winnie in the woods. So now already he's in a tough spot, because now he's burdened with a very, very important secret. Also, he has no idea why they're out there. Now, he knows they're in the woods in the middle of the night, but he doesn't know why they're out there. And Dana clearly has not left, so, he probably can put two and two together and figure out just the caliber of secret that he has to keep. Again, because now that Dana has decided to put Winnie in harm's way to protect this Carrie and Rufus relationship that she fabricated on her own, now that she's decided to put Winnie in harm's way, she has now put Luke in harm's way, because now he has to keep this secret. And once Tom discovers that Winnie's gone, he decides that he's gonna starve everyone until Winnie shows up. I think he said like a half a piece of cornbread a day. Like, again, not a good situation here. And this puts Luke, again, this just adds to the terrible position that Luke is in, because he knows what's happening, which would obviously allow him to, if he were to I don't say sell out, but if you were to say something, everybody can eat again. So he has that, but it's like, obviously you don't want to snitch, because you really know what's gonna come out of that. But now he's put in the awkward position. He knows what happened and he can't say anything. Essentially, he could stop the starvation, but he can't, because essentially that puts Winnie and Dana in a much more certain mortal danger. And then on top of that, he has the other male slaves blaming him and essentially treating him like an Uncle Tom, because this happened on his watch. So it's like he's got already secrets that he has to keep. He has the health of the rest of the slaves on burdening his soul, because he can fix that situation if he just tells what he knows. But that gets Dana and Winnie presumably killed. And then on top of that, he has to keep that terrible secret despite having the other male slaves shit on him. Again, Dana's fault, right? And obviously, everything that plays out is also Tom's fault, right? Like, Tom's the one that's saying, I'm not gonna feed you guys. Obviously, Tom's at fault here, too. But here's the thing. I expect the white slave master to behave like a white slave master. I don't expect the woman from 2016 with full knowledge of how things worked in 1815 to go there and get everyone killed by being a fucking idiot. So, like, yes, I am gonna be harder on Dana, and this is her fault, because she knows. She's from the future. Like, she knows this. And oh God, okay. So, because of the starvation, Celeste goes, I mean, they don't say this explicitly, but this is more than likely why Celeste goes into labor early. She goes into labor early. This kills both her and the baby. Again, Dana's fault. Then, to top it all off, Luke sees the baby has blonde hair and is now again forced to reconcile. I can't say again forced to reconcile, but he has to reconcile with the fact that this wasn't even his kid. So, like, all of this that happened to him in this episode, probably he would have brushed it off if he had had a beautiful kid. And now not only is the kid dead, but he finds out it wasn't even his kid in the first place. Like, man, what a shit episode for Luke, thanks to Dana. Obviously, Dana didn't get Celeste impregnated with Tom's baby, but everything else, thanks to Dana. And then he responds by blaming himself. Like, oh, if I hadn't openly shown love to Celeste, Tom always be trying to get all the women I love. If I hadn't done that, she probably still would. Like, he blames himself for this instead of correctly blaming Dana. But let's finally move on to Dana. At one point, Kevin expresses concern about Winnie leaving and Tom starving all the slaves to Dana. Is Luke or Sarah gonna snitch? What's going on here? Do we have reason for concern? Dana responds by saying, quote, "It just needs to blow over." That's what I realized. Dana's never read a fucking book, and maybe the writers of this show haven't either. Like, why would I keep going back to this because this is what makes it so egregious and stupid and insulting and fucked up. Why would someone from 2016 go back to 1815 and expect a runaway slave to blow over? Like, blow over? Like, I got a lot of shit to talk about, so I need to calm down. When it turns out that Dana's wrong about Rufus and Carrie, and again, I'll eat crow if she's right, but when it turns out that she's wrong, it will officially be her fault that Celeste, that baby died, and it will have been for nothing, and it'll be for nothing based off of like a hunch on her part, like with the Carrie Rufus thing. She doesn't have anything definitive. Even if Carrie is a family name, it's not that uncommon. Like, I really hope that these people didn't die because this goofy motherfucker had a hunch. I really hope that didn't happen. Another thing that irritated me, Dana's walking around like she owns the place, because that's just what she does, right? And she goes into Tom's library, I guess, and she's reading. And Tom catches her reading, and he cuts into her. I mean, that's what happens, right? I mean, like, again, a smart person with 200 years of knowledge probably would have, I don't know, faced the door while reading, closed it, took the book somewhere else, any number of options rather than reading in the man's library. But hey, no one ever accused Dana of being smart. He checked Keeping Tom. He kind of like checks Kevin about this, like, yo, Slade was up here reading. And Kevin in turn later tells Dana to be careful. That's it. Be careful. She has the goddamn nerve to get indignant because she should be allowed to put everyone's lives at risk unfettered. Like, I hate her. Like, how do you have the nerve to be indignant because he asked you to be careful? Like, I understand that you probably don't want to hear a white man telling you to be careful in a place where you are at significantly more risk than he is, with people who are being treated and looked at inhumanely. But were you thinking about how he's right in that point? Like, does that matter? Like, yeah, okay, it's coming from a white man, and you might be like, oh man, I can't believe he's telling me I gotta be careful. This is my, like, you being a black person in this situation, you probably don't want to hear shit a white man got to say. But unless except for when he's right. And it's not like be careful is like ridiculous advice. Like, how dare you tell me to be careful? Because you're getting everybody killed being stupid. That's why I'm telling you to be careful. Because you ain't being careful. And also, were you thinking about how he doesn't need to tell you to be careful when you are not sleeping in the attic like you were supposed to so that you can get some of that white dick? Were you thinking of that at that time? He's good enough to risk it off of that dick, but he's not good enough to tell you to be careful when you're clearly being reckless. Get the fuck out of here, man. That Dana character's so goddamn stupid. And then to top it all off, after all of the aggressively stupid things that Dana says and does in this episode, when she's leaving the room, she condescendingly tells Kevin, just keep playing piano. Like, as if to suggest that the only thing he's good for is doing something as insignificant as teaching them to play the piano. And then she leaves to promptly resume her prime objective of getting everyone killed. Like, I'd rather you play the fucking piano, Dana, because he's playing the piano. He ain't getting nobody killed. She then heads over to Olivia's crib and is shocked to still find that Winnie is there, because like I said, she's never read a fucking book, and she expected Olivia to just put Winnie in an Uber and send her on her way. Like, what was she, like, what is she still doing here? Because escaping slaves is hard, Dana, that's why. Because we've all read a book, it is difficult to get slaves free. It's hard, Dana, that's why she's still there, you fucking moron. Like, and I haven't even got to the part that pissed me off the most. You know what? This might be a good time to point out, after this episode, I understand why Uncle Alan is mad all the time. If Dana was my niece, I'd probably be walking around looking pissed off all the time too. I do walk around looking pissed off all the time, and I don't have a Dana in my life who's out here getting slaves killed despite having 200 years of knowledge on how to not get slaves killed. Like, I don't have a Dana in my life. So another moment that irritated me, and again, I still haven't got to the part that pissed me off the most. Margaret tells Rufus that she doesn't want Dana reading to him anymore, and of course, he gets mad. And Dana leans over to him and goes like, it's fine. Like, how you gonna undermine this white mother on this plantation? Like, I know you mad because of what your mom said, but you respect my opinion more, so I'm gonna comfort you and tell you that everything's gonna be fine. It's okay. Don't listen to her. Everything's gonna be fine. Like, how's she not lynched yet? The disrespect, bro. Like, and I'm not even saying Margaret deserves respect. That could have been anybody. Like, that could be 2022, and you are in your coworker's home, and you hear your coworker discipline their child in some way, and you lean into the child in front of the mom like, it's all right. They gonna bust your fucking head. Like, and then she did this in front of a white plantation wife? Like, I can't, bro. I can't. And then the moment where I officially lost my shit. Dana hears someone outside, like, going through it. Coughing, groaning, moaning, just having a rough time. She goes outside to investigate. She finds Celeste outside, struggling. Again, breathing, clearly in some kind of pain. Dana goes, It's really hot. You shouldn't be exerting yourself. She's a goddamn motherfucking slave, Dana. She has one setting, exertion. That's it. She don't got no other setting. It's exertion or off. What the fuck kind of stupid advice was that? And then Celeste correctly points out how dumb of a statement that was. But I mean, for me, the damage was already done. How do you write that fucking line into the show? I really like Dana, the type of motherfucker to tell a zebra to like be vegetarian, consider vegetarianism. Like, you know, all of these fucking gazelles have been going to your thighs. Maybe you should try a vegan option. He's a lion. He ain't got no other options other than killing buffalo and gazelles and zebra. All that. That's his only option. Is apex predator. That's it. Celeste's only option is exertion. There's no other option for that. So get in front of her and be like, you shouldn't be exerting yourself. Like, oh my God, dog. I lost my shit, y'all. I'm telling you, I lost my shit. I think, kind of like to sum it all up and to put it succinctly, I'm just gonna point out one thing. You know Dana is a piece of shit when her own mother would rather stay in 1815 on a plantation with another kid that she just picked up while she was there rather than go back to 2016 with Dana. That is how bad Dana is. I'd rather stay a slave than go back to modern times with your dumb ass. And that is how we will end the Dana portion. But I do want to close with a couple thoughts. First of all, I am going to continue to watch. I don't know if I'm going to continue. I can't promise I'm going to post videos for the last 2 episodes. Like, this show is firmly in this is a bad show realm for me at this point. This is 3 straight objectively bad episodes. Like, you're not going to get me. There's no corner this can turn in the final 2 episodes to make some sort of list of mine or for me to be like, you know what, it started off bad, but it got, no, this show is fucked, period. But I'm still gonna watch the last 2 just because like everything I've heard, which was right so far, said that it drags in the middle and it ends well, but it's primarily setting up what they think to be like the real show that's gonna be season 2. I'm gonna watch it just to see that, whatever that is. But I mean, they were right about it being shit in the middle, so I have no reason to think that this is about to get good. But I mean, I'm invested. I want to know what happens. I don't even say invested, really. Like, I don't want to stop it after having watched 6 out of 8 episodes, but calling myself invested, that might be a stretch. So another non-Dana related thing that I also did not like about this episode was Kevin telling Margaret to leave Tom. Now, my first problem with this is how clumsily they set this up. Like, there was no setup of Margaret and Kevin prior to this. She just immediately starts flirting with him in this episode. Like, I could have used like a... So the first time, I don't even remember what the first thing is that I see that made me think like, is she flirting with him in this episode? But they should have had that a couple episodes back. Like, had a couple of like touches, a couple of smiles. Maybe he helps her with something and she looks at him. Something that shows me like, hey, maybe she's tired of the way Tom treats her and she's a little bit into Kevin. But then they did that all in this episode. Like, they set it up and they knocked the pins down in this episode. But that's my first problem with it. The second and the main problem is that he tells her she should leave Tom because he's an awful man. And I'm just looking at this like, so are we making Margaret out to be some kind of victim here? Like, a victim of like Tom's racist ruthlessness? She's an awful person too, Kevin. Like, she's had a racist scene in every episode. Like, those two belong together as far as I'm concerned. Like, don't try to paint Margaret as like this sympathetic victim of Tom to me. Like, I'm not buying that. She's an accomplice. She's not a victim. Like how long ago was she called, what did they call Dana? Like a wench or what did they, I don't remember what they were calling her, but they were calling her some name, sending her up to the attic. They treated like Margaret specifically, because Tom has been like on and off, but every interaction with Dana has been contentious because Margaret ties Dana to Olivia and she thinks Olivia brought the devil in. So she's been treating Dana like shit from day one. And you gonna tell me like, oh, Tom's terrible, you should leave him, he's an awful man. Like, like she's being abused. Like, well, I mean, well, she is being abused. He slapped the shit out of her. She is being abused. But she is not someone who needs to get out from under Tom. Like she doesn't deserve my sympathy. I'll put it that way. And then there were a couple of unfunny, like, poorly timed jokes in this episode. Like the beginning when he says, "So is that technically a cornrow?" I'm like, that felt. I'm not even gonna start. But that was not funny. And then he has this whole after the conversation with Margaret, he does his Target, Walgreens, Walmart, and like that was a callback to the opening scene, but like it wasn't funny. It was poorly placed after that heavy conversation with Margaret. And as a matter of fact, any humor in this show is poorly placed because it's about fucking slavery. Like, I'm not even trying to laugh. Like, how people like Marvel shows have some humor in them. I don't need humor in my Marvel shows. It's like, okay, if I laugh, cool. But at least a Marvel movie can be funny. I definitely don't need humor in my slavery content. Definitely don't. So, yeah, poorly placed humor there. And then I will close with the one positive of this episode. I got to hear Negress again. Where has the Negress gone to? I'm gonna start saying that about my wife. Like if I can't find my wife, I put my hands on my hips. Where has that Negress gone to? See how that works out for me. But I will see you guys maybe tomorrow for episode 7 if I decide to do a video for it. Hopefully it'll be better than these last 3 and I won't have to spend 25 minutes shitting on it. But man, this was a really bad episode. Really bad. I want to like sit down and have a conversation with anybody who wrote about this show being anything better than shitty. Like, I can't. Like, people, like, there's all these, like, think pieces out there, and it's like, I'm not watching this show to prove how black I am. Like, let me write a think piece about what this show is trying to do in the African diaspora, and I'm not trying to do that. I'm just over here trying to tell y'all whether or not I think this is a entertaining or high-quality TV show to watch. If your endorsement revolves around, like, if your endorsement is like tied into proving how black you are, your endorsement is poorly placed. This is not a good show. And I very rarely do that. Very rarely do I say something is a bad show. I'll say it's not for me. I'll say I don't like it. I'll say if you like blank kind of show, then you will or will not like this. I very rarely say a show is bad because most of the time I'm watching stuff that I already kind of have a feeling is going to be good in the first place. I don't subject myself to bad art, but every now and then that happens. Or I watch something that doesn't live up to my expectations, and even then I'm just like, normally what I go with is, it's not really for me. This is a bad show. This is not, like, these last 3 episodes, you don't recover from this. Like, there's nothing that's going to happen in 7 and 8. Like, I know I already said this, but, like, this is unredeemable. Like, this is not gonna, like, I'm not gonna turn a corner and be like, well, Kindred wasn't that bad. No, this was a bad season of television, period. So whether or not I come back for 7 and 8, I don't know. I probably will, just because I'm not gonna want the coverage to be incomplete. But this was a bad episode. I hated this episode, and Dana is probably an all-time great stupid character. I will see you guys tomorrow for episode 7. Peace.